Hello and welcome everyone to episode 65 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, the letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super and Kaiju number 8. Here to talk about One Piece and just like, hey, we're past the 300 chapter mark, which feels awesome.
We're in the next era, I guess you could say, for this one, because it seems like all of our major arcs take about 100 chapters, at least so far.
Yeah. In a fun little like random speaking, you bringing up a different era reminded me that once we leave, so we're gonna wrapping up Skypeia, and then after that is the point in the anime where they change to HD widescreen.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I guess I'll start noticing that when I start getting new clips.
Yeah, so different era indeed.
Wow. Well, that's exciting. And yeah, this is definitely a transitional episode where we're finishing up Skypeia and getting the setup for the next arc. And I think, at least for me personally, it suffers a little bit for that because of that. Because it's you don't get enough of the flavor of the next one to really form a solid opinion.
The emotional whiplash is just kind of like, oh,
yeah. So we'll see how we feel as we get into it. With chapter 301, I hereby guide, and sure enough, there goes the Navy galley vessel going to buy some milk.
I love how they had enough time to just I don't know, get a big old brush and put some new kanji on the sail.
Right. I mean, I love how they have to properly label all of their ships.
Right. Well, to the point, if they're going to label it top secret, then I guess at that point, I can't really be too mad about food.
Yeah, that seems like somehow
that's not
silly.
too silly.
Yeah. Although that still sort of opens yourself up as like, hey, we're starving. They got food. Let's attack.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do love the killer whale and the dolphin chatting up.
That's cute.
That's cute. Yeah, we get back into it, and I love this opening. I really do, because apparently the partying lasted for like a week. They said days and days.
Days and days, yeah.
Everybody partying and whatnot. And Luffy decides, hey, wake up. We're going to steal gold and run. Which is so different for Luffy.
Yeah, I mean, I love that he's uncharacteristically whispering. And then Nami perks up, and then he's just like, too loud. And then just the whole chain of events.
Yeah, everybody yelling at each other for being too loud, and everybody else is being like, man, they really love the party, don't they? Ugh. But there's something fun about this shadow bit. It's like, okay, so this is what we're doing. And make sure you don't leave with any regrets.
I love that Zoro's still sleeping.
Yeah, nothing will wake him up. It just seems so weird to have Luffy like, let's steal some gold.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, I think this whole sequence, it feels like Oda's trying to figure out a way to make for a chaotic exit, because I think that's kind of how a lot of pretty much all One Piece arcs seem to end so far, is just kind of like full on chaos and trying to escape, but like there's no Marines up here, everybody's like thankful, so it's like, how do you create a scenario where they're trying to leave and run away?
Do the typical pirate exit we've had at this point, where everybody's thankful, exactly. But it's like, hey, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Because there really is no rush when it comes to this.
Yeah. So it's tricky.
Mm-hmm. But we do get some fun bits here, because they found the golden bell. It actually toppled. It got caught on the giant jack.
I thought it was gone for good.
I did too. I completely forgot about this.
Yeah, I remember we mentioned that last episode, and I'm like, oh right, no, the bell's here.
Mm-hmm. And I love it because we get to focus on Robin. She's like, the bell tower.
Yes.
It's like the one goes, stones I'll never find if I don't look for them. I really thought my search would end here, and no, all the Shandians and the angels are pulling it up so you can get the bell back. And it's like, oh cool, they're working together. It's still maintaining. And I love this bit with Usopp, where he's like, a rubber band? This is called a rubber band? It's like, Well, about 90% of what toppled the giant jack was those.
Yes, of course. Usopp's a great salesman.
It really is. It's like, hey, you got this iron sheet. You want some iron, right? I brought it all the way from our ship. I'll trade this for a dial. It's like, no, I want the rubber band.
Yeah. And yeah, he just made off like bandits, got a bunch of dials.
Which is really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Usopp can really upgrade their stuff thanks to all these dials they have now. He wants to make a scent sword for Zoro and improve Nami's climate baton. I love it. And he's like, hey, where's everybody else? Well, they're all inside and Robin went off somewhere else because the snake has partied itself out and is still asleep. And I love how Usopp is like, don't go out here soon. When that guy wakes up, things will get hairy again. It's like, the sweet-tempered snake is like, you don't hear how irritating that thing is.
You don't know what we went through.
And then he just keeps repeating this sweet-tempered snake because it turns out he had a tone dial.
Of course. This is just... I feel from Zoro's perspective, it's like, oh god, we've added another annoying thing to Usopp's toolkit. He's just got another toy to play with.
Mm-hmm. And we find out the gold Luffy was talking about. The gold inside the snake, which I completely forgot.
Yeah, right?
And, I mean, it makes sense. It's not really stealing gold at that point. The snake had it. Everything else went with a Naru other than the bell.
It's kind of a cool technicality.
Yeah. So they're stealing, but not really.
Yeah. They don't know what's there.
But the Sky people managed to pull up the bell. And it looks like one of the side pillars broke, but it's mostly okay. But sure enough, they find the poneglyphs that are still there.
It's right there.
They're asking like the chief, like, okay, what does it say? It's like, well, it isn't for us to know. All we need to do is hold the truth in your heart and keep your mouth silent, which is what Robin says as she comes up. We are the ones who weave history with the reverberations of the Great Bell, which shocks the chief.
Yeah. It's like, wait, you could read it.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my gosh. You actually read that stuff? And so Robin looks at the poneglyph, finally gets to read it, and it's all about the ancient weapon that bears the name of the god Poseidon and its location. And it's like, an ancient weapon? Why does it talk about something like that? She's like, dang it, another weapon.
Right, yeah, after Alabasta.
Which also, like, oh my god, it's not just Pluton. There's a lot of these super weapons around. Each
There's another one.
Gods, because, Pluton, Pluto. That's not good. So it's like, another miss. I don't want to know things like this. And then another one, Shanjian points out that there's something carved over on the side in the same language, which catches her attention. And it says, I hereby guide this document to its end. Pirate Gold D.
Roger.
Frickin' Roger somehow made it up to the Sky Islands.
It basically scribbled in graffiti, Roger was here.
Yeah. That's amazing. And the fact that he found the bell, told nobody, and wrote something of his own. Like, what is this man?
So I knew that Roger went to Skypeia. I forgot that the reveal was here. Somehow those two things didn't line up in my head. Mm-hmm. So there were a couple things where I was like, wait, I had to kind of rejigger my understanding of kind of like the sequence of events.
Yeah. And Gonfor confirms it's been more than 20 years since he came to this place, a pirate of the Blue Sea. And man, that's so interesting, especially because we still have no idea how he got to the bell, even though there's proof. And we get more about the poneglyphs, thanks to Robin. It says there are two types. Stones with information and stones that show the locations of the others. The stone is one with information. And she just keeps repeating herself. I hereby guide this document to its end. Guide this document. Is the real poneglyph? And, she's like, it's already fulfilled its purpose. And they're all like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Basically, what we discover through Robin is that by finding the poneglyphs and connecting them and reading them, they'll become a document that fills in the blank history that she's searching. So they'll have a complete text, and the real poneglyph doesn't yet exist because nobody's connected them all. Basically, there's no longer any need to fight and protect this. The ancestors' wish was fulfilled, which basically brings them all to tears.
Yeah. Which I guess the implication then is that when Gold Roger came up here, and this is me filling in the blanks based. I'm not like filling in things based off of future information, but so Gold Roger, I think, is the implication that I hereby guide this document to its end. That like that was the purpose of this poneglyph. So it's just like you don't need to protect this anymore because the information has been moved forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that's the way it goes, and it seems to be the indication. And she's like, okay, I have to guide the poneglyph documents that I've read so far to the end of the Grand Line to Raftel. And I just had a thought. I didn't have this while I was reading, but I just had a thought now. Is the One Piece the document? The real poneglyph? Like, is it because we have all these separate elements of these poneglyphs that come together into one piece?
I think it could be, but I'm also not entirely sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. But honestly, I'd be pretty satisfied with that answer. It's a treasure, to be sure.
Yeah. I think whatever the poneglyphs, whatever story that they're telling, I think is very closely tied to whatever the One Piece is. And I think that's very much on purpose to kind of bring together all of these sort of desperate elements, and all of these different mysteries are all kind of tied to the poneglyph and presumably the true history of the world and whatever is at Raftel.
Makes you so curious.
It does, yeah. Again, even I, who's read 1,070 chapters or whatever, is just like, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's when they mention, it's like, oh, hey, your people said they wanted gold, didn't they? It's more highly valued than Varus in the Blue Sea. Well, how about this broken bell support? We can't give you the bell, but you can have this as a thank you. And she's like, oh, you don't mind? I'm sure they'd be thrilled. So, hey, let's wrap it in a cloth because it's hard to carry like this. And I'm like, oh, no. I think I know where this is going. And Gonfor has one final thing to say to Robin. She's like, that boy's a straw hat. I had the same feeling about him as I did with Roger. And she's like, oh, his name is Monkey D. Luffy. I'm quite interested in him myself. And he's like, D? That can't just be a coincidence.
Oh, who knows?
It's like, it all makes all the more sense why Robin wants to travel with Luffy, and their goals kind of meet up.
Yeah. I don't know, it feels kind of like, what is it, the getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes meme where it's Gonfor has only met one D. Getting a lot of D vibes from that Luffy kid.
Yeah. All the others have gathered up the gold. The place is deserted. They're like, where is everybody? I mean, I guess it's good because we're about to run off, and Nami and Connor start the ship, getting it ready. And freaking Zora's like, we don't have to wait for her, do we? Let's
right.
The boat. Let's
still
go.
doesn't trust her after all this.
Yeah. Or he's just like, she'll catch up. I think everybody else is like, idiot, don't leave us because you'll immediately get lost.
Yeah. Also true.
Yes. You'll get lost inside of 3 steps. But then they see Robin and is like, hey, hurry up. We're running away. We're stealing some gold.
Yeah.
And
it's telling on yourself.
Usopp sees the giant cloth, thing wrapped up in cloth, and is like, oh no, they've got a huge cannon. We need to get away.
Yeah, even they're like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. And Robin's like, what the? And it's like, they're planning on leaving? Wait up. We gotta go. We're like, oh no, we're busted. We gotta move.
And that's how they run away. And that's how you get your escape sequence.
Robin just sees that they're all like, what's going on? Aren't they gonna take it? And she's like, well, looks like they don't want it. And they run off. I love this comedy of errors.
Yeah, it is. This whole chapter, God, and this was just one chapter, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just all a big comedy of errors.
This gold, there's no way this gold would have fit on the ship, though. It's huge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
What they got is more than enough.
Exactly. So that's it. It's just a fun way to get it. Plus,
yeah.
Oh, that sweet lore.
Yeah, God, this must be the first time they've ever stolen anything.
Yeah, it really is.
Like they have finally pirated something. Yeah. They stole something that didn't even belong to anybody.
Yeah, they stole it, but it's also like so open. Like they would have given it to him anyway. They wanted to give him more. So they stole in their minds, but not really.
Yeah.
Well, let's get the chapter 302 finale. As, hey, the Navy cooks on the galley vessel actually Moda's parents.
Oh,
there we go.
That's cute.
Yeah. It's really funny because when I saw Moda initially, I thought she was like a teenager, but then it's like she kept looking younger and younger. It's like, oh, she's only like 12.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, next to Ace, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, or maybe, I don't know. Is she tall? Is she short? I don't know anymore.
Oh, well.
Yeah, and the cows are really tiny too for some reason. So
it's an odd perspective to say for sure. And we start the chapter and everybody's like, "Huh? They left the island before we can even give them our thanks. They must think us ungrateful. Yeah, they don't understand our feelings." It's like, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But they don't also think you're ungrateful, that's for sure. All the while, Rocky's like, that wasn't fair of you. You actually got to thank them and say goodbye. And she's like, well, they told us not to tell anybody. And it's so weird to see Isa without her cap.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really even recognize her.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's her. Yeah,
yeah.
I do like it. It's really cute that she's just like, I want to be like Luffy when I grow up.
And Rocky's like, hey, let's just trim your hair instead of cutting it completely, because I'm sure it'll look good on you. We should make you cute because, our days of taking up weapons have come to an end.
Peacetime, seeing all of these people who fought so hard for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see them happy.
Yeah. It's a nice set. And we get to see Wiper and his warriors standing before the Calgara statue. It's like, hey, that sacred duty has been fulfilled, and your wish has no doubt reached your friend, so we don't have to shed blood anymore. But despite that, we will not lose our pride, and I want you to continue watching over us. So we won't let that light be extinguished.
What a cool send-off. Ah, man.
Yeah.
Wiper really won me over. What a... such a cool
I think Wiper really was like the MVP new character of this arc.
He stole the show.
Like, completely. And I did not expect that. I didn't remember him whatsoever. Like, just as like, antagonistic guy. But here, just seeing what he did is like, holy hell. And all the while, it's time to figure out the leadership here, because Gonfor's like, hey, Shandy and Chief, you're the one most suited to this whole leadership role. And it's like, no, whoever was here first, we've all been stained by the fighting. Nobody can possess Tavares. And we're warriors. Governing isn't really our strong suit. So the Kami might not be a god to us, but it's a title we can rally behind.
Yeah.
The name of the country is Skypeia, and the name of the city is Shandora.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And they're like, you're the only one who can join these into one, because you were the one through it all that sought to bring peace. And everybody rallies behind him.
That is such a small element of like kind of the flashbacks of his time as Kami, of being kind of the one person who was, trying to solve these 100-year-long issues with, diplomacy and peace. And it all kind of comes back around. And I guess it wasn't something that Oda needed to bring back full circle, but I love that he did.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a huge point.
It feels like a good wrap up.
Exactly.
But it's time to return to the crew, as they've made it to the White Sea rather than the White Sea. And Luffy's like, yes, we're finally filthy rich. Let's get a giant bronze statue. And you have even a little picture of the bronze statue on the Mary. Extremely
cursed.
Let's spend this gold so we can get a bronze statue. Yes, that makes sense.
I love how, Usopp's is ridiculous too. It's like, let's buy 10 cannons. And then Sanji, I want a refrigerator with a lock.
and Chopper's like, books. I want to read about other countries' medicines. Get me books. And Zora's just like, give me booze.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we'll figure out how to divvy up the treasure once we get down from here. If we bought everything you guys asked for, it wouldn't do us any good. But we finally made it to Cloud's End, where they'll find their way down. And it's, it was a crazy adventure for sure. Scary, as Chopper puts it, but fun. But yeah, they just need to take this all the way down the Milky Road straight to the Blue Sea.
That sounds simple enough.
Yeah. It's like, you think we'll come back again? Maybe, maybe not. Which,
yeah, I'm gonna say how hard it was to get up here.
Although they did find out there's easier ways, so.
That is true. I forgot about that. They took the hard way.
But Konos and her father say their goodbyes and, take care of yourself. pull in your sail, cling to the ship. So we're going to be going pretty fast. They're like, okay, we're going to be going pretty fast. Get the gold inside. Let's secure everything. And hey, out of nowhere, that south bird they brought up.
South bird. Just, gotta bring it all back around.
And got confirmation. The course has been set to the next island. So another adventure awaits. Let's go home to the blue sea. And then Kona shouts out, hey, be careful during the drop. And they're like,
and then what? Drop?
That's a good page turn. Yeah.
I love the faces. I love even the Mary she's got her eyes popping out.
Yep. Everybody's freaking out because there's no cloud taking us down. You're just falling.
Just straight down.
Yep. As they get a little Hesso from Konus, and then she uses the Skyland specialty, the octo balloon whistle, and all of a sudden an octopus comes out, grabs hold of the ship. Zora's ready to fight it, but it shakes enough that he gets...
Imagine that, the visual of, like, you're falling freaking, like, 60,000 feet in the air, and then a giant octopus just kind of comes out of a cloud out of nowhere and grabs you.
Yeah. Grabs onto the ship, fills itself up with air, and is like, okay, we're good. We're going to just float on down.
Yeah, it's so peaceful.
And as they're leaving, they ring the bell, and everybody gets to react to it, get to hear the beautiful song, and I love those celebration moments. Like, they really are just the saviors of these people.
Yeah, and just what I think for me, it's the bell's kind of purpose as, like, the original purpose of kind of guiding souls and letting them know that we're still here, and to have that as, like, the final send off to the Straw Hats, I think it's a really powerful message.
This narration where we, of course, get to look at all the different people and talking about the bell itself and just saying, yep, this wandering land is here. And I don't know. It's a feel-good moment. It's a feel-good moment.
It is. And then there's that panel. I think Codis actually looks pretty sad to see them leave. You know, she was she's happy
crying
on the surface, but she's kind of crying on her dad's shoulder.
Mm-hmm. We also get a look at those statues that we saw very early on when we got to Upper Yard of the big tooth guys crossing their arms. It's like, I don't think we ever got an answer about what the heck those things are.
I might have to look that up later. I don't know what that is either.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I have an idea, but I'm just shot in the dark.
Yeah. That is it. And we do have an SBS. Not too much to go off of that. There's some fun things here, such as the medicine that Oda came up with is kind of based on an actual medicine, but he makes it a point. It's like, if you make up the diseases that are too scary, you can scare folks needlessly. But if you use real diseases, it can hit a little too close to home. So you got to take elements of real world curable diseases and mix them up a bit.
Yeah,
so
which makes sense.
I like that idea. And we also, Rita figured out the Isa's name is taken from a bird that she discovered. There's an Isa bird. I
would imagine there are a lot of other characters in Skypeia who are named after birds.
That makes sense.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah. And there's also a question, I don't know if we'll see this in the later, but there's been a lot of people asking for profiles of the actors who voice Luffy and the crew. And they'd love to read messages from them.
Yeah.
So
that would be nice.
That would
I do know cool. In way later SBS segments, they do get the voice actors involved.
Oh, that's fun.
So maybe this is the start of that.
That could be. I mean, Oda does tend to keep his promises. Like, it's like, if he gets a lot of requests, he tries to fill that in for these, as we actually see in this set. But yeah, chapter 303, The Wealthy Pirate Gang. And hey, coffee with milk makes for a much less bitter coffee and for happy meetings. Good on these
That
guys.
Came around in a weird way.
Yeah, it did. Very, very odd. But before we end this off, get too far done with this Skypeia arc, we gotta check in with Cricket and the monkeys.
Yeah.
Cricket's like, well, I'm breaking off the search because Eldorado's in the sky. There's nothing for us to search for on the ocean floor anymore. So thank you for all you've done. You stuck with me for this silly dream when you didn't even have to. And he literally closes the book on it.
Yeah.
Before saying, so guys, what sort of adventure do you want to chase next? And it's like, I love it.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll ever see them again.
I don't know. I feel like they'll pop up at some point, but...
Yeah, I feel like they'll pop up in a weird place. there could be something that I'm just not remembering, but it would be nice to see them again.
We get this nice ending for these guys, and hey, remember Bellamy?
Yeah, remember Bellamy, who's currently bleeding out.
Yeah, along with Sarkis. The two of them are fighting, and it's like, what is going on? And Sarkis is shouting out, "I'm begging you, why are you doing this?" And we see the fingers.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. It's like, oh, why? Because you disgraced this, my flag.
Oh, yep. And then there we go.
And here's Doflamingo. And he's just like, is there a Skyland or isn't there? Is El Dorado a delusion or not? None of it matters. Use their differing opinions and force them to their knees. And
he's scary.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's intimidating.
With a bounty of over 300 million. He's like, I don't need small-time hoods under my command. And I love how Bellamy was talking himself all big. He's like, you're small-time.
Yeah, no, it's ironic for sure.
Uh-huh. And Bellamy gets beat down by Sarkis' weapon. And he ends up begging to Flamingo, give me one more chance. We'll follow you. And he's like, I lost, but I never meant to disobey your orders. I swear on the flag, it's just how I do things. If I start by eliminating the weak, someday I'll make it to your level. And he's like, well, good old Bellamy. This is what I like about you. The new era is almost upon us. So go on, do whatever you like. But you're not in my crew.
Ooh.
It ends with Sarkis behind, raising up his blade, and there's just a screams, and everybody's like, the 55 million bounty rookie, I can't believe it. And it's like, I think Bellamy's dead.
Yeah, he's just offed him. Man, I'm not gonna say it just in case anyone listening doesn't know, but of all of the things, I think Oda played it a little bit too obvious with Doflamingo.
Oh,
because he hasn't revealed stuff yet. And I'm just like, how would you not like it's the most obvious answer as to, like what is going on with Sarkis here.
Oh yeah,
so I won't say it, but it is really,
he definitely has some sort of strings or something like that.
Yeah, exactly with. So it's just like, oh, okay.
Like his devil fruit is one of the more obvious ones for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I don't think the official reveal is for a long time.
Right.
So that's why I was like, but at the same time, you look at this and you're like, what else could it be?
Did we ever get confirmation before this point that Bellamy was part of Doflamingo's crew, or here we saw this?
I think this is here, but now you're making me question it.
Because I remember it, but it's like, is it because of this moment or not? I don't know.
I want to say it is, because, I mean, obviously it's not the first time we've seen Doflamingo, but, like, I don't think his initial appearance had anything to do with Bellamy.
No, I don't think so. It just would have been around the same
fact
time.
That he's... Yeah, because he was over in, what's its face? Like, Mary Joao or whatever.
Yeah, doing the meeting.
Yeah, and then he's just like, oh, I'm in Jaya now.
Yeah, I guess somehow he heard about the whole thing with Bellamy, and it's like, I gotta go take care of something.
Yeah.
And he's one of my
subordinates.
Very, like, positive, like, the time when only real pirates will survive is coming. What is his plans? And of course but
what is he cooking? But it's definitely his dialogue here is really interesting. Of a new age of unmatched power is coming, and he's ready for it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which I guess is the other thing, just of other. We could say it like a billion times, but like the characterization and sort of all of this is so consistent.
Oh wow.
with what is to come, that it just is like Oda was ready for this. And there are, I think, a few other things in this chapter too that I might point out, but it's just like, oh wow, yeah. There's so many seeds being planted right now.
Yeah. We go back to the crew, and the ship lands back in the blue sea. It's a bit of a rough landing, but the octopus deflates, and he's just the size of a normal octopus now.
Yeah, is that painful?
I don't know. There's asking if it's like, did it spring a leak? And Luffy's just like, thanks, Octopal. And it's like, oh hey, we're back on the blue sea. Weird.
Yeah, it feels like, wow, everything's back to normal.
Yeah, who would have guessed? And they're like, well, we might go back someday, but drop the shales. We're going to the next island. It's like, hey, let's rest. It's like, Nami's like, no rest. Just because we're back on the blue sea doesn't mean it's going to be any easier because, hey, look, a giant wave full of sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys. We're just like, wait, what? just cute little monkey faces popping out of the wave.
And we sort of get the aftermath of what they've all obtained, where we learn that Luffy is getting pulled out of the water. And the reason for that is because he attempted to ride the waver, and it turns out, yes, Nami can use the waver down on the blue sea. So that's pretty cool.
Makes sense. Yeah. I don't actually know if she ever uses it again. I'll have to look out for that.
I have to imagine she does. I have to imagine she does.
This feels too important not to, but I genuinely don't remember.
Usopp's going through all the dials, and he's like, all right, well, they all work except for the Milky Dial because it probably only works with the environment up there.
Makes sense.
So that's all good. I mean, I feel like that would be a little too much of a boost, be able to make that sort of thing. And so at this point, Nami says, all right, Pirates loot is meant to be divvied up, and we've got plenty of divvying to do, so we'll be all rich. And again, we'll get the whole thing of bronze statue, buying books, Sanji wanting new pot and frying pans and dishes, and a gigantic mousetrap.
Okay.
I love how he even has like a little abacus, like calculating it out.
He's prepared.
And Nami immediately says, okay, 80% goes to my secret stash. Like, wait a second. And she's like, I'm just kidding. As if I could have a secret stash on this clunker of a ship. And she's like, I want to put the money back into the Going Merry because it's falling apart. So let's use it to get some big repairs for her. We don't know how much it'll cost yet, so we'll split up the treasure later. And they're like, that's when they start discussing is like, we should actually go to a shipbuilding dock and have a specialized shipwright do the repairs. Usopp's like, oh, man, it's weird to think that it's taken us all the way from my village in the East Blue all the way to this part of the Grand Line. So we got to reward her properly sometimes. And Luffy immediately is like, let's add a carpenter to the crew. It's like, oh yeah, we got a next crewmate that we might have join. Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean this whole conversation is surprisingly sensible. It's just Usopp has been a poor guy has been trying his best.
Yeah.
But especially after. Like Skypeia in particular, I don't know, even Alabasta, honestly. Poor Mary has been through so much.
I mean, from the moment it reached the Grand Line, it got its head broken off. So
just like, So it's nice that they're thinking about her.
And everybody else is like, huh, he actually had a good idea for once.
Yeah.
Other than the musician that he's been wanting for ages now. Usually
like
when they say,
2.
like, we need this, that's when we typically get them next. But he does say, it was like, we could use a musician. It's like, no, let's shelve that for now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said that in like chapter 2 or 3 or something like that.
I believe so. It's been a while. But we go back to the before we end off the chapter, we go back to the Navy headquarters on the Grand Line. And they're talking about somebody whose bicycle is gone and he's gone to the ocean. So they were like, hey, contact the 5 elders. And it's just like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, he's at it again. He's probably just sightseeing. And these elders are like, why won't he take his rank seriously? We can't have him moving around willy-nilly. And that's when we get introduced to, well, kind of, Admiral Aokiji, the greatest power in the Navy, who's riding a bike on the ocean.
Yep, he's got a little ting ting, got a little bell. He's talking to the dolphin. He's just like, oops, sorry about that.
What an introduction to this character. Like, what is that about?
And the last panel in the chapter where he just sighs at a poster of Luffy and he says, not an honest fellow in the whole family.
Luffy's family, you say?
Yeah. Which, I mean, at this point, I guess he's talking about Ace?
Yeah, I guess so. Because all we know for Luffy's family is his brother. Very interesting. Very interesting. But speaking of Oda keeping promises for those requests, he finally made a new version of the timetable that he put later. And he actually was like, okay, some schools have class on Saturdays as well. Some schools have 8 periods, and you wanted a column where you could write in starting and ending times. So he actually took all that into account to make this new thing. So
wow.
That's good on him. But that is the end of the Skypeia arc.
Yep.
Let's begin a new arc with chapter 304, Long Island Adventure. And we're
going to New York?
Yeah. And this is weird. This is one of the few times where we get a title page that doesn't have, well, nothing. It just goes right into the story.
Yeah. There's no color spread, no nothing. We're just all right.
It threw me off so much. It's like, did I miss something? But we begin with these giant sea monkeys making a face at Luffy. He makes the same face back at them.
He's got that monkey face is so good.
They got to make a run for it. And that's when Usopp spots another ship. And they're like, oh boy, what's going on with that? And he's like, well, it's weird. It's got no flag, no sail. I don't know what kind of boat it is. So Luffy's like, well, if there's not flying any colors, what are they in the ocean for?
Yeah.
They see the crew, and he's like, they're all bummed with a vengeance.
I can barely detect any life from them at all. They're all depressed.
Just circling their fingers on the boards and whatnot. It's like, okay. And it's like, is their ship okay? It's going to get swallowed by the waves. It keeps on like that. And they call out, it's like, hey, there's a big wave and giant monkeys coming, so you might want to turn your helm. And they're like, hey, it's a ship. Let's get a hold of it ourselves. It's an enemy ship. Take their treasure. And they're all trying to go for them, but it's all disorganized. Everybody's
chaos.
Fighting, and yeah, it's all chaos. And they just get lost in the wave as the rest of them escape. And it's like, well, so much for those guys.
And the ship was so at least I think from the perspective, it's so much bigger than the Mary.
Yeah.
So it's like if they were organized, they could have been a threat. Probably not. Still,
no,
but.
Definitely not. But, I mean, it's one of those things where most ships we see are bigger than the Mary.
Yeah, that is also true.
So the big wave was just the sea monkey prank. But hey, things are starting to stabilize, and it's looking like we're near our next island's climatic zone. So that's cool. But Robin, can you see anything? Oh yeah, there's an island that's been in front of us for a while.
I love this sequence where like Luffy and Usopp are trying to get her in on the bit. You know, it's like, you're not doing it right. You know, you see an island, you say, "Men, land ho," and then she's like, "No, you try it." And she's like, "The fog is pretty thick." It's just complete deadpan.
Has no part of it. So they're just like, well, it's an island. Let's go take a look at it. But also, that ship was very weird. No captain, no navigator, no flag, no sail, no energy, no teamwork. That's not how you form a pirate crew. And I'm pretty sure that they were a pirate crew. They're just missing that spark. Yeah. So what's going on with that? I got a bad feeling. They're like, you always have a bad feeling.
Yeah. Hey, don't write off Usopp, man.
Yeah. And they're like, well, maybe we can find a good carpenter on this next island. So let's get through the fog and see what we can find. And it's nothing. It's just a giant prairie.
Wow, they've not only New York, they've somehow landed in the Midwest.
Yeah. What a boring island.
Yeah.
But of course, Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp immediately makes jump onto the land and just like, yay, a prairie, let's go. And they're like, should we just let them go? It's like, we can see it far enough. They're probably fine. That's when they start discovering weird things. It's time for weird animals with Oda again.
Yes. He loves his weird animals.
The long bear. The long trees with long apples.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that Usopp, he's like, don't eat that.
They see a house in the distance, and along the way, I love all these long faces that the three of them make as they see the long deer and the long birds and the Dutchland that just goes on forever.
It's so good. God, this whole island is so cursed.
The visual gags are great in this.
They are so good. I was cracking up.
But it also threw me for a loop because we go from this so serious stuff of Skypeia, and because it's transitional, I'm like, is this too silly for me? Am I not enjoying this? Like I actually was really thrown for a loop. Yeah,
it is definitely, I think, kind of covering the end of an arc and the beginning of an arc in one podcast. I think it definitely makes for just like a little bit of whiplash. Not to mention all of like the cool lore stuff and all of like the Doflamingo stuff we did last chapter. And it's like, they find themselves in an island of long animals.
We found a way to get silly again. And, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And the lore stuff was good, but also not as in depth as some of the other ones we've had before.
Also
like
true.
Major changes.
Yeah.
Like there were not a lot of major changes after Skypeia, it seems.
There are some arcs where like the lore dump is like 10 chapters between the end of one arc and the beginning of the next. So it's just kind of like, we got like one or two, one and a half.
Something like that. And they find a house. They head inside, but there's nobody around. But Chopper finds a giraffe, but it's actually not a giraffe. It's just a long white horse.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, of course.
Yeah.
It would be too normal to be a giraffe.
Of course. And she has a saddle, so there are people around here, and her name's Sherry, according to Chopper. And Luffy all of a sudden sees bamboo growing over there. It's like, it's weird. It's also very, very tall. Can't even see the top. And all of a sudden starts skittering away.
It's just moving. Yeah.
It's like, it's another long animal. It's got to be. And all of a sudden he gets kicked in the face. He's like, no, you don't. He breaks it. It's like, yay, I broke it.
Yeah. God, they're all celebrating. This is so silly.
And Chopper asked the Sherry the horse, where's your owner? It's like, oh, you don't know? You seem pretty lonely. And all of a sudden a giant crash in the distance. And it's like, oh no, it could be an enemy. Hide over there. And like, what happened? Well, when we broke the bamboo, this spirit showed up.
We have spirits now possessing bamboo, apparently.
Yeah, just this old guy. But we end off instead with a giant ship blocking in the Mary with these two giant chain paws.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, what's with you people? What do you want? I'm not afraid. And they get introduced. We are the Foxy Pirates. What we want is a duel. And I just realized how we have our three silliest characters off on the island while our four most serious characters are the one confronting these guys.
We're just like, oh, well.
Again, I love how different ways Oda splits up the party each time.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like on purpose on the crew's part in this case. It was just, Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper just being dumb. And they're like, we're going to go run around on the land for a bit.
Yeah. It's like, it's cute.
Yeah, it's fun.
We have an SBS, and these are the silly ones because one of them is like, so is Wiper going commando underneath his leaf skirt? And Oda's like, yep, definitely commando. Or it could be a loincloth thing. I don't know.
Don't think about it too hard, please.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, let's get to chapter 305, Foxy the Silver Fox, where it's the end of Ace's great search for Blackbeard in the name of pirates.
That's it.
I mean, the funny thing
he
is...
did a little side quest, and then he's back off.
Yeah, it's weird because I thought he was going to be going place to place doing this search, but it ended up just being some Navy shenanigans with this whole milk thing. But it did end up working out for him because I am positive he found out a clue to where Blackbeard's at thanks to that secret document that he stole.
That's true. Yeah.
Because he looks very determined.
He's just kind of like, all right, I know where he is now. Time to teach him a lesson.
I only just noticed he has his own log pose on his wrist. I don't know why I never noticed that before, unless he just keeps it on the boat and puts it on when he's ready to sail.
Yeah, I don't think I ever noticed that either, but it makes sense that he would have one. Yeah,
definitely. But that was a fun little side one. Not one of the best. I don't know if I put it as like one of the best, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was a solid little romp. But again, I think it is actually... important's not the right word, but it's cool to see, like, okay, he was looking for Blackbeard, and he kind of, in a weird roundabout way, got a clue to, we started ended in a different place with this character, and I think that's worth something.
Yeah, he went from randomly attacking whoever's around because they look like Blackbeard to actually having an idea of where to go.
Yeah. So. Good job, Moda. You did it.
Yeah, there you go. So they meet this spirit in the chapter itself, and the old guy, this spirit is like, well, they're like, hey, say something. It's like, oh yeah, I remember you. It's been ages. How have you been? It's like, does anybody know this guy? No. Okay. Oh, and he's like, oh, no wonder your face didn't look familiar.
So he's just lying. Okay.
Yeah, just lying. This is Tonjit, a nomad that was on top of bamboo stilts.
Yes.
That's why he was up there.
Stilts so tall that you couldn't see the top.
He's like, yeah, I was at the So you're not a bamboo spirit who came out because we broke the bamboo. You're just an old guy who came falling down because we broke your stilts. But why were you on the stilts? I was like, well, I always loved stilts because I was trying for the tallest stilts in the world using the bamboo of this island. And then I managed to climb up, but then I was too scared to get down. And they're like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
And then he was like, I was up there for 10 years. Are you a super idiot?
He's definitely stupid.
Oh, yeah. And all the while, the bamboo continued to grow, so it got harder and harder to get down.
And then all he says is, I sure was scared. That's all he's got to say about the whole decade.
A decade of eating fruit on this island, going to the bathroom on this island, on those stilts. Oh, boy. That man must
Good
stink.
God. Ugh.
But I also love, I don't know if this was in the original, but there are just so many tall puns on this. It's like, that's a rather tall tail.
Yeah, that's sort of a stretch.
It's like, so why is everything stretched out here? It's like, oh, there's a reason. As you can see, this island is covered in a great prairie. So we live large, like to draw things out. That's the long and short of it. Well, mostly long. That's sort of a stretch.
A complete non-explanation.
I know. It's just like, we just want to be long.
Yeah. All right.
And
cool.
it's like, let me introduce you to the animals. That's a dashland. And that's a duck. It's like, all you did was stretch out the word.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then, God, the page turn gag on this one where, he's like, there are dangerous animals. That's a snow leopard. Watch out, he bites. And then you turn the page and it's just like, he has a wide face for some reason.
That is so weird.
Yeah, God, no, this whole sequence, this whole bit is so bizarre.
I know. It is just maximum silliness at this point with just these dumb jokes. And he's like, yes, in our village, you usually get out milk from our livestock to share with each other. And so where is the village and where is the livestock? It's like, it's been 10 years. There's no way a village would have disappeared in that amount of time, right? It's like, well, we'll take our time talking about this. More importantly, I have some milk stored away. It's like, for 10 years? He's like, I can't find it, but how about this cheese?
And then I love he's turning away as he's trying to give it to Usopp.
It's so dumb. And then he starts eating it. He's like, Luffy's reaching for it, and Usopp smacks his hand away.
Like, don't. Yeah. And then I love it. He starts to, he gets into this explanation, I've lived on this island. My stomach's just built different, kids these days. And then he's just down.
It's like, please call a doctor. It's like, doctor. It's like, food poisoning. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Oh, that kicked in fast.
Yeah. So we learned the reason there's no village here anymore is that he's part of nomads. And that's why the village just disappeared 10 years ago. The island is called Long Ring Long Land. I have to say it that way because I will trip over my words.
Yeah, I'm not going to... I trip it up every time. Long Ring Long Land. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a mess of a word for Japan as well because of the L's and R's.
Yeah. He knows what he did.
Yep, but the island is actually shaped like a long ring, but it's normally divided by the sea into 10 islands. So once every year when the tide is at its lowest, and only for a few hours, the islands reveal their true shape as one giant ring-shaped landmass. So using that window, once every 3 years, we migrate from one island to another. So you got left behind when the village moved. Luffy's just like, you're an idiot, I like you.
He's just laughing at him. It's like, wow, you're stupid.
And Usopp calculates it out. It's like, so it'll be 30 years until they circuit back to this island. So you won't be able to see any of them for about 20 years. It's like, yeah, if only I had a horse, I could follow the others and cross the next island every year. Then I could probably catch up with them in 5 years or so. And like, a horse? That's right, the most beautiful island. And it's like, oh, wait, hey, we met one of those.
Bringing it all back.
Yes. It was like, why don't you go by ship? It was like, oh, we're not seafarers. We don't know. We don't know how. So good luck me finding a carpenter here.
Although it is cool that he makes the point that, like, these 10 islands are technically one island. So a log pose isn't really that helpful.
No, not really. It's like, yeah, without a horse, I can't really follow after him. So I'll just have to wait here for 20 years. And then it's like, oh, wait, Sherry's your horse.
Yeah.
She waited for him.
Aha.
That's so good. I must have been lonely waiting all that time. It's like, thank you so much. I'll never leave you alone again. It's like, that's That's a nice story. A horse and an old guy.
It's a cute little reunion. Mm-hmm. Oh, God, that panel of them just like riding together. It's so goofy, but it's heartwarming, but so cursed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's also like, aw.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, next day of the ebb tide, let's cross the sea together. And it's like, I just get strong Futurama dog vibes.
Oh,
from
yeah.
this because they flash back to it's like, are you sure you want to stay, Sherry? We don't have any idea where Tanjit's gone, so just come with us. And Sherry's like, no. And you see her waiting in the rain, waiting in the snow, crying up towards the sky. But now she's so happy because they've been reunited. And it's all good. And all of a sudden, blam. Horse shot. And tumbles like, wow. What the? Everybody's like, what happened there? What? Are you okay? What's going on? It's like, where was she shot? And they're all taking a look at it. And she's writhing in pain. And Luffy looks back because he's already upset. Because, like, that was a heartfelt reunion and somebody messed it up. Somebody's going to pay.
You ruined it.
And somebody's laughing. It's like, I nailed that horse. It's mine. So get your hands off it. It's like, that's right. That horse belongs to the boss. It's like, who the heck are you guys? Oh, who am I? Don't you recognize me? I am Foxy. We get introduced to them. Foxy the Silver Fox, Porsche and Hamburg. Which, boy, these are some wild designs.
They're so weird.
Hamburg's mouth looks like a hamburger, so there you go.
That is true. Yeah.
And got certainly an odd look for Porsche. But the other funny thing to me that I noticed right away. Foxy's bounty is only 24 million berries.
Yeah. We're back to small potatoes.
Yeah, at least as far as numbers. So he's not much of a threat to the Navy at the very least.
Yeah, but maybe he's secretly super strong.
Maybe. I mean, it happened with Luffy. And Chopper's just like, well, we got to get her treated. Fortunately, she only shot in the leg, so she'll be okay. So there's no damage to the bone. So Sherry's going to be okay, but it's still the fact
that good.
He was shot. He's like, why would I know? And Luffy just shouts at him, like, why would I know your faces? I'm going to send you flying. And Foxy just gets depressed.
Yeah, the first thing, he shoots a horse and then gets depressed when Luffy doesn't know him.
Mm-hmm. And all the while, Hamburg's laughing at him.
Yep.
Foxy introduces himself. He's a man who gets everything he wants. Why are you crying over a horse when hunting them is so much more fun? And that's when they actually know him. It's like, you're Straw Hat Luffy. And we've investigated you because you have a bounty of over 100 million berries, and Zoro with you has 60 million. So that's pretty impressive. So, hey, we challenge you to a 3-coin Davy back fight run by Orthodox Ruse. And Luffy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just, hey, if you want a match, I'll take you on. And that's when Usopp's like, wait a second. Davy back fight, that ship without all that was so disorganized. It's like, no, don't do that game. We'll lose our companions. I'm like, it's like, that's our end.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like, that's not good.
A cliffhanger.
Yep, that's our cliffhanger. That's our setup for Foxy and what this next arc is going to be. So it's certainly interesting, but we'll see how it goes as we go further. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I forgot that he shot the horse.
Yeah. That's how he baited Luffy into taking this on in the first place. So
yep.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a transitional set of chapters with some good lore, and finished up the whole thing with Ace and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure because it's transitional I was not hooked with these first 2 chapters. Like, it was fun and silly, but I wasn't like in it right away.
Yeah. And I have a distinct feeling. I think my memories of this arc are actually pretty clear. I mean, I guess I just said I didn't remember that he shot the horse, but like for the most part, I kind of remember how this goes. So I'm wondering if you'll really be invested in it at all. But it is. I like it, and it is mercifully short. But it is just coming off of like all of like that satisfying resolution from Skypeia. And just to go to like, well, here's this guy with 24 million, and he's, just kind of petty and dumb.
Yeah, it feels like a movie villain coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it does. Foxy, he has huge movie villain vibes.
And I also know that this arc is infamous in the anime, which is how I watched it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly. Although I guess it's worth mentioning. I think we talked about this otherwise, but like the anime adds in a filler arc right after they come down from Skypeia.
Yeah, that's true.
The GA arc, which I'm actually quite fond of, even though I haven't watched it in quite some time. But going from like Skypeia, which some people already don't like in anime form, to a filler arc to a kind of a low stakes breather arc, it's just like, oh, come on, man. So I had compounding issues.
Pacing didn't quite work for this section of the anime, but
yeah,
we'll
it's certainly not bad in the manga, I feel, but definitely still not great either.
I'm very curious how it'll go as we when we get to the next set of chapters. Like whether having a full 5 chapters to read and immerse ourselves in will help it a bit better.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 301 to 305 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. Although, kind of not a whole lot of any of that stuff, but just been working a lot. That's really it. So I don't know. Stay tuned for updates, all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Those are the grindstone and all that. I'm in a similar boat. So
yep.
And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 306 to 310 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Monkey D. Luffy with a 100 million berry bounty. Roro Noah Zoro with a 60 million bounty. A lump of cash like that is nothing to scoff at, especially considering that you only have 7 crew members.
Now, with introductions out of the way, as captain of the Foxy Pirates, I challenge you Straw Hats to a Navy back fight!